Welcome back. We've now come to the last section of the conference. Technological advancements, changing expectations of an in-house counsel, shifts in career paths, these have all changed the ecosystem of a corporate legal department. Let's hear from our speakers, Ms. Valda CHAN, Group General Counsel, Emperor Group, and Mr. Michael TING, Chief Legal and Compliance Officer, Hong Kong and Macau, Manulife International Limited, sharing with us how in-house lawyers manage a team of legal professionals, attract and retain talent, and get the department's priorities straight in an ever-changing era. The original moderator of this section was Karen Wong. She could not make it today due to unexpected circumstances. So we invited Ms. Joyce CHENG, Senior Corporate Lawyer, Australia and New Zealand Banking Group Limited, and member of the In-House Lawyers Committee, to moderate this section for us. Please, Joyce, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Here we come to the final session of today's conference, working with your own team of lawyers. I think this is going to be an appropriate wrap-up for today's conference. I'm Joyce CHENG. I'm the moderator of this session. I'm very happy and honored to have this opportunity, even though with a short notice, because I know this session is going to be fun. This session will be divided into 3 parts: individual presentations by each of our speakers, and then followed by a facilitated panel discussion. And then we hope to open up, perhaps say, the last 5 minutes for Q&A session from the audience physically attended in Justice Place today, and also from our online participants. As I said, as a wrap-up for today's conference, throughout today's conference, we've been talking about legal's role as the corporate connector in different aspects. We talked about, in the morning session, about privacy, HR, and then in the afternoon session, about cross-border legal collaboration, whether GC should be given a role in the board. And then it gives us to think whether there is any difference in the expectation of the in-house legal team from the business perspective. In the past, traditionally, legal department function is being seen as supporting function, a backup function, a back office function. But then is this changing now? So, and does it change how the in-house legal team should be managed? And here we are, we have 2 very esteemed speakers with us today. Ms. Valda CHAN, Group General Counsel of Emperor Group. Emperor Group has a number of listed companies and, of course, a very wide range of businesses, including the very juicy entertainment business, which personally I hope Valda can share a bit more with us. Valda, welcome and thank you. And then let me introduce Michael as well. Michael TING, Chief Legal and Compliance Officer, Hong Kong and Macau of Manulife. So Manulife is the insurance and financial services provider, which is a relatively highly regulated industry in Hong Kong. So I think Michael will also share with us later on. So without further ado, let's get started. Please welcome our first speaker, Ms. Valda CHAN.
Thank you, Joyce, and thank you to Law Society for inviting me to speak on the topic today, working with your own team of lawyers. For my part, I will first give a brief introduction on the legal departments of Emperor Group, how we set the approach and direction of the departments, and the way how we work with our own team of lawyers. And in particular, I will share with you how we can understand the communication barriers and understand the modern way of communications. You might have heard about Emperor Group, which is a local-grown conglomerate having 6 listed companies on the main board of Hong Kong, and another 5 business lines. We have businesses in the real estate sector, watch and jewelry, securities, hospitality, corporate finance, movie, theater, entertainment, and also furniture trading, and media and publication. Our legal department covers the legal, compliance, and company secretarial functions of the whole group. And in this slide, you may see some familiar faces and some popular posters that used by our company in recent months. To cope with our workload, we require a team of approximately 52 members, comprising 13 qualified lawyers and 10 chartered company secretaries. We have offices in Hong Kong, Beijing, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. And in year 2021, we were named as one of the Asia's top in-house team. So the way how we work with the lawyers also depends on the macro climate of your departments. And on this basis, the departments, the approach, we have to see what direction and approach you set your departments going forward, and then decide on how you work with your lawyers. So you do the work mainly in-house, or you outsource it to outside professional law firms. There are in-house teams which, by their company's policies and practice, outsource their legal work, like M&A transactions, contract review, preparing announcements, preparing translation of the announcements, and even company secretarial work to professional law firms. And we at Emperor Group, we tend to do most of this work in-house. So, except for, let's say, litigation work, conveyancing work, and bank financing that we have to instruct outside law firms to help us on. So, on this basis, there will be a big impact on the way how you manage your legal departments. What seniority of your team members you would require. Because we do most of our work in-house. We need senior lawyers as well as junior lawyers to do groundwork and research. And what would be the level of supervision you require? Will there be any autonomy of work, or you prefer to have a close monitoring on your lawyers? So also consider the budget of your legal spend, the work logistic. If you do more work in-house, you will also need to have more template agreements and provide training to your team members. So in this slide, I have set out some general guidelines on how do we work with our team of lawyers. Given that it is more and more common for lawyers to work remotely from home, off-site, or with flexible working hours. So the supervisor may not be always around the subordinates to see how the work is done. And sure, no one likes micromanagement. So as the head of the department, are you going to give autonomy of work to your lawyers for particular matters? And in order to maintain standard, you have to build up a robust template document system, as well as a common filing system. For us at Emperor Group, I view these two systems, the template document system and common filing system, as the backbone of our operation. This is the platform for us to share our knowledge, succession of our knowledge, and also for future reference. And even though you work off-site, you are still able to access to all these important documents because the company has built up a system for you to work off-site. And Providing sufficient training is very important in our operation too. We have many different businesses, and actually no one knows all this. And there are lots of new laws coming up all the time, and there are also a lot of specific areas, like entertainment law, real estate law, securities law. They are all very different. And as the head of the department, I promote work collaboration and work rotation. And this is also an excellent avenue for staff members to mingle and discuss with each other. And understanding their expectations and the work-life balance is also important. You may do something good for them, but the good things may turn out different if the team members have a different expectations. For instance, promoting a staff is a good thing. But if the staff has a different expectation for salary increment in connection with the promotion, the good thing may turn out to be a bad thing. So I see this managing expectation of lawyers is a difficult task, not so easy to manage. So, and in the way how we manage our lawyers and the legal departments, you also have to understand the communication barriers, breaking down silos, both tangible ones and intangible ones. Are there any systems or procedures that preclude your staff members from communicating? Is it a human issue that they don't want to talk to each other? So, do you have enough bonding exercise, off-site arrangement, after work gatherings to promote communication and collaboration? All these aims are sharing of information and resources, and promote communication and collaboration. Finally, I'd like to talk about understanding the modern way of communication with lawyers, especially the younger ones. As we just explored, these days, there are lots of chances for staff to work off-site or work from home. There are flexible working hours, work from home arrangement, time off arrangement. These, especially in the COVID times, these are generally expected. But whereas the traditional way favors more formality in the workplace, and the younger generation also expects more informal communication language and channels against more business-like languages. And work-wise, they would expect more instant feedback on work results. So if they do something, they would expect the supervisor to tell them how their performance was. Are you happy with the result? And they would not have the patience to wait until the year-end performance appraisal to know whether you are happy with their performance. And lastly, I think this is a very important aspect, the means of communication. What would be the preferred mode of communication with your younger generation? By digital means, email, WhatsApp, text messaging, digital conference, or they prefer face-to-face discussion and phone conversation. A very important aspect is, if you communicate with them via digital means, they can choose the time to reply, so they are not disturbed. But if you keep on calling them and keep on asking them to have face-to-face discussion, come to my room, talk to me now, I want to call you, where are you? So they would feel very disturbed. And there are cases that people don't like to talk to each other. They prefer to send email, even to the neighbors sitting next to them. Why is it? They just simply don't want to talk. So if a corporate culture still adopts the very traditional ways, you may expect a higher turnover rate for the new generation. So thank you, everyone. This is my short presentation today. And I would like to pass the time to Michael.
Thank you, Valda. I think there are lots of practical tips for current legal team heads and also team heads to be. I think it's very all-rounded and comprehensive. Thank you, Valda. So let's please welcome our next speaker, Mr. Michael TING.
Hi, folks. I'm trying, to be a little bit also informal. I may not be following the slide of each one. I get used of, maybe I will fly around, so please bear with me. But I'm trying to make sure that, we are talking about the new way of working too, so I hope that it will be a little bit more innovative instead of just following the slide or page to page. Okay, for Manulife Hong Kong, Macau, I don't have to introduce Manulife. Manulife is in the insurance business. We are regulated by the Hong Kong Insurance Authority, and also some of our products has to get the SFC approval too. And for the legal team here in Hong Kong and Macau, we do have 31 persons, and 8 of them are lawyers. 7 are in the legal team, including myself, and 1 in the compliance team. And in fact, in the compliance team, we also got 2 paralegal, and those are mainly in the distribution compliance area, which I will talk about in the next page. For our legal team, we are trying to be not only working for the company, we are trying to see what we can do for the society, and also we have been in the past 4 or 5 years getting different awards by the professional bodies. Okay, on the legal team, we do have divided into 4 sections if you want to. However, I have to say, those people may be working mainly on those areas, but we are still having some mixture to work together. So say for the general daily work for the insurance area, we have 2 people working on those. And then on the investment, we have 1 person who are very focused on investment. I should have to say, this is focused on investment. And she has to do other things and then helping the team to work together. And on the regulatories, as we have different things, we have to do the filing and also work with the regulator. So we have 1 lawyer more focused on that. And for any insurance company, you will see that agency is a very important part in most of the insurance company, especially the major ones in Hong Kong. So we have insurance contracts and then also the agency contracts, different kind of the compensation scheme for the agents for different teams. And that's why we also have like 1 or 2 person also focus on that area. On the compliance side, we have AML, corporate compliance, product and health, and then distribution compliance. And distribution compliance will have a more focus on legal because they will have to do a lot of the investigation regarding the intermediaries, allegation for the misconduct, if I may use this word, and trainings, and also for the areas that it will be more focused on the conduct and the intermediate conduct and the training side, So this is the structure of Manulife Hong Kong and Macau. And we do, although we have to say that we have different, teams, or you can call it sub-teams, but basically we still work very closely with each other. I think this is something I will talk about, later on. Okay, how to manage the team? Obviously everybody will think the first thing is the budget, right? Budget is important. And the second thing I want to manage is saying that it's a team structure. That's why I put that on the last page and then talk about the team structure. I think as a general counsel, once you start to work in a company, you got to look into how you want to structure the team. This is quite important. I can share with you that 20-some years ago, I was the first one hired for Massachusetts Mutual in Hong Kong as the general counsel for Hong Kong. So my first mission is how you want to set up the legal department. I think at almost 20-some years ago, most of the work are, you can say, outsourced or subcontracted to an external legal firm. So Hong Kong doesn't really have a lot of the formal kind of the legal department that they want to do things together and want to set up a team to do more legal work in-house. I'm sure I will have to assume you guys are all in-house counsel, so I can say this is, I think you all know that most of the companies want to do the job in-house instead of, doing the job or, outsourcing to the external lawyers nowadays, because the in-house lawyer does have this knowledge to know the company, first of all. You don't have to explain to the external lawyer again how you want to deal with things. You probably know your other departments, head or the colleagues, how they want to work to get the work done. I think structure, I always stress that is very important. And even I can tell you that 8 years ago when I was first hired at Manulife, my first mission is to restructure the team to ensure it is an efficient team which will be able to help the business. Of course, from our perspective, we have to be abide by the law. So because, I always say this word, if the legal department doesn't have any trouble, that means the company won't have any trouble, right? So if I'm doing or anybody at the legal department are not doing his work correctly, then it is actually jeopardize the company. So there are certain things that we have to make sure that we will comply and we have to abide with the law. However, we still also want to be to provide a business solution, So that's, the team structure is important. And in fact, I already told you guys that the communication and transparency, it all comes with what I just said, So the two things, you have to work with your other teams or other departments in the, within the area. So you have to have the transparency, communication, even though within your team. Because, as I said earlier, each team I have mentioned there, they have their focus. But we are still working together to make the things work. So within each department or any teams, I should say the teams within the sub-teams in the legal team or whatever you guys call it, in your own company. I think we have to understand that we don't tell your colleague, hey, I'm only doing AML. So the other things that you will have to go to somebody else. I think you have to work together, have a transparency between the teams and also the communication. And all the things around will come into one thing is the key to success. Key to success is to provide a business and also, compliance solution to the business, right? So this is how a legal department, or even though nowadays they're always with legal and compliance, together, and there are a lot of lawyers are now working in the compliance area too. But no matter where you work or which department you are working to, you just have to work together to make sure the things will come out with a one solution. Okay, how to manage the people? Okay, the first thing is always say this: know your people's talent, and know your people's ambitions. So how you want to know your people's talent or know your people's ambition? One thing I want to say that is the last one on the left-hand side is know when to hire. Other than when to hire, I think when you are hiring someone, you really want to see that. When I interview people, I always tell the candidate, don't be too formal or you just feel fearful or whatever, because you have to treat the interview as a bilateral communication. Being the candidate, a lot of the times you will feel that how I can please the interviewer so that he will hire me, right? But I always tell the candidate that you have to also ask the right question to make sure that you know what are you going to be doing. Is this something you want to do? And it's not only because of money or title or something else like this, but is this something you really want to do? Is this the job you want to work for the rest of your life or for at least 5 to 10 years, in my view? So this is actually a bilateral interview. I always tell the candidate that if you come on board, you decided to quit after a year or so, imagine that, once you have a new person you hire or whatever, takes them 3 months or so to get use of the company or get use of the department, and then also for you to make sure that you can at least, delegate work, don't have to supervise that much or whatever. And then if you work for another 8 months and then people wants to leave, it is a loss, total, I would say it's a loss for the company and also for the candidate at that time, and of course then brought on as an employee. So, for the hiring and also getting to know, the talent and the ambitions, which is important when you are hiring them, and also manage them after they come on board. On the ambition, I can tell you that we always want to have someone who is a high performer, right? There's no doubt. But other than a high performer, somebody with good ambitions, which is good, but don't forget about the independent contributor. It doesn't seem to be independent contributor. A lot of people will say, oh, no, that's no good, right? Then the independent contributor doesn't have the ambition, but that might not be the case. But someone who wants to be an independent contributor could be sometimes good, because when you have your own structure, when you have your own people you want to manage, you just cannot expect everyone is ambitious. Imagine if you have the whole team is ambitious and want to have a promotion, it's going to be quite headache. So you got to know what is this person's talent, how you can help this person, either move, some of those can be promoted more, some of the other people may want different things. You just have to know what they want and then also to watch for that, And that is what I mean, know the people's need. And then obviously, the good team structure and then training will be another thing. But I think, as I said earlier on, I try to talk things together. So some of the stuff on the slide I already explained. Okay. Obviously, the last question is, you may also want to make sure that, whoever you hire will meet with the company's culture or value. Okay, for Manulife, we have a 6 value: obsess with the customer, do the right thing, think big, get it done together, and own it. And also the last one, there's one more last one. I think it's share the humanity. I should have remembered, but it's just too much for me. Share my humanity, I remember. And share your humanity. That was the 6 things we have been putting in the value for that. So just make sure that the people you hire is also willing to be doing what the company's value. This is something that you have to do it together. And especially for think big. Nowadays, being a lawyer is not just provide a legal view. You have to look into your business need, and then also, of course, I have been re-emphasized, of course, we have to abide by the law, but you have to find a solution. Sometimes you may not be able to find a solution, but doesn't mean the end of the world. You have to, the business, you may have to tell him, I can't do A, but if you can change, then it will be B. This is something that you have to teach your lawyers especially a lot of our lawyers will probably work from the law firm for the first few years and then come on board or something like that. This is the time they have to adapt to what is the company in-house lawyers role. And also, this is something that I think they have to change their mindset. I have seen a lot of the lawyers coming from an external law firm. They are good lawyers, I can tell you, but they might not be adapted to the business well. Sometimes, I even have a friend, and also, it would take him some time. He was a senior partner for a local law firm for many years. Then he came into in-house. Of course, he has to be knowing that to change his mindset that he used to be the boss. No one would challenge him. And when he came to the company, I think he was saying to me that everyone challenged him, right? So, you have to change the mindset. And also sometimes it's to think big, because you don't have this leisure to put a whole qualified statement at the beginning of your legal opinion, because all you need is what is the conclusion in the first paragraph, right, when you are working in-house. So that's what I want to share with you. I'm sure that, Valda and I will share a little bit more, on the other questions at the later time of this session. So unless you guys have any question you want to ask me now, but you can wait at the end. And this is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael, for very insightful sharing. Both Valda and Michael, they are managing top-performing legal teams, award-winning legal teams in their respective companies. But you can see that they have different managing styles. They structure their teams differently. There's no one-size-fits-all formula here, but then it works. So let's move on to the next panel discussion. Let's let Michael catch his breath from his presentation. So the first question to Valda. What is the difference in expectation for lawyers working in-house and in private practice? Do you think the expectation has changed for in-house lawyers comparing to the time when you move in-house?
Working in-house and private practice actually are two very different professions. Not only from the difference in working environment, but it's the approach taken, how you work at your workplace, and the end result and expectations. For expectations are two ways. From the lawyer's perspective, from the in-house, when they go in-house, they would expect they would have lesser work pressure, no more billable hours, and also a better work-life balance. But the company also have a different set of expectations. First of all, the company would expect a smart lawyer, but not a legally smart lawyer. An in-house lawyer should be able to be responsive, effective, and creative in order to support new business models and products. The in-house lawyers also have to know the business well so that they can engage in meaningful discussion with the business unit. And the more successful in-house lawyers are those who can look beyond legal technicalities and engage or have an impact on the business in a meaningful way. So, and for the past 10 years since I have been an in-house lawyer, I have seen from both sides, the lawyers and the company, they are more and more demanding to each other. From the in-house lawyers' side, they would expect to have a higher remuneration package, more flexibility at work, and more autonomy of doing their work. And the company would expect them to yield good results, at least comparable to other law firm standards. So that's the answer to your questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Valda. And I think there is a common theme from Valda's response and also Michael's earlier presentation is that it's very important for the in-house legal team to fit into the business, be it the business strategy, business culture, business goal of the company, and not just working in your own little corner about what is the legal issues here. You can do that, you can't do that. So I think it's important for legal to look beyond just the legal issues. So I think turning to Michael, working in a Manulife, a large corporate like Manulife, so I'm sure technology is one of the big thing here. So do you think technology has enhanced your workflow or improve the work efficiency in your daily work and the operation of the team?
Yeah, I think right now, if the traditional way of just saving legal costs and also provide a legal solution is just not sufficient. And in order for you to really, having what I always call is a performing team or super performing teams, you have to rely on some technology. And obviously, I think every one of you guys perhaps is doing is, I always remind my team members that once you have done something nowadays, you probably have a calendar reminder to see if there is anything you need to remind the business. This is something that you have to do it yourself, but you just can't rely on it, with the old tradition, maybe marking on the calendar, but now the technology can do a lot better than you. And also certain kind of the software, I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to promote for the software company, I can tell you the one we are using at our company that, even though how I run the meetings, there will be a monthly report to tell us, Michael, how long you have been spending your time after work, communicate with your team members. So this could be something important. You don't want to do too much. They will have a report telling you that how many times, you have scheduled a meeting and what's the percentage of all the meetings are not overrun, because they will be able to, to track you through the virtual meetings. And they do have this kind of the technology also telling you that, even they would tell me that how many hours I send emails are off the office hour. So this is something that, you may be smiling or saying that, well, that means you are trying to tell me you are very, diligent or whatever. I want to say it's not. This will be able to tell me that perhaps, do you really want to do that much work, off the work hours, or because you are sending it to your colleagues? These are some of the stuff which may give you some hints. And also, this will be something that you want to know that you are not doing too much by sending too many emails to your colleagues after Friday night or Saturday or Sunday or whatever. So there are tools out there, to help you to do your job better on this. And also, I think at Manulife, we are also proud that, I don't know how many of the, I'm not saying this, I should say this like this way. We are very proud that we also manage our external lawyers' time and also expenses by using an automated system. So we have one system that we are now using. So for our law firm, there's no more physical bill, there's no more invoices I have to approve. And then at the beginning, all the law firms will be entered into the system as our listed law firms. And then when we start one case or one incident, I should say, with them, then we will open up that in the system. And they will be able to submit bills through the system, interim bills or the final bill. And we would be able to compare if we see the rate they gave us every year, we will have a rate to ask them if they want to increase the price, or obviously they never will say decrease the price, right? and then every year there will be some changes or updates, but the system will automate it to look into that and track that when the bill is submitted. If they find the bill is not the same as the rate, it was first entered, or in the system, I should say, then they will have an alert to us. So we are also using this system to track some other reports, and for us, I know you never send to me, you probably send to my boss, is even for the same law firm in different countries, we will be able to track the rate of lawyers, for comparing which country is more expensive or more costly, or how they are going to charge, across the region. So there are also certain kind of the things like this, because this also help us a lot. Imagine, some of your junior lawyer may have to go through all the hassle at the end of the case with the external lawyer to make sure that, all their charges are correct or accurate. But now it is all done, by the, I'm always say this because I'm not a computer expert. I always say I'm actually pretty dumb in computers, but the computer can do all those things for us, Okay, I think that's all I have. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. I think technology can really help improve efficiency and also help us organize data, help us to manage the team and budget hopefully more efficiently. But it can also get quite creepy sometimes. I remember once when I first got a prompt from an email saying that, oh, you've got an outstanding task to this sender, and that's my boss. And I don't think I've got anything outstanding from him, but this is like a creepy sort of prompt from email system nowadays. Turning to Valda,
Yes.
I think you both actually touch upon this. It's about attracting and retaining talents. So any advice for team leaders to avoid high attrition rate within the legal department?
I think this is a difficult question because these days you just cannot avoid attrition rate. And I think remuneration package remains still one of the top most important factors. Yeah. And getting recognized and be impactful to make them feel they are very important at work is important. And also maybe a flexible working approach, be that working hours or the way how they can manage the work. These are factors that can help them settle in the workplace.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you, Valda. And for Michael, do you have any tips, any secret sauce in effectively managing a team of in-house lawyers? I think you've shared a lot, but any top tips from you? Any difficulties or challenges you've encountered in team management before, particularly during COVID times?
I think I've mentioned some, even from the day of the hiring, how you are looking at, to hire a candidate to become your employee. But one thing I'm quite want to emphasize that once you have your employee, you do have to look into what exactly he or she wants. And also you have to show them that being an employee of the company, then whenever there is a vacancy coming up, you will consider that internally. What I mean by that is, we actually hire people from the compliance area, even though it's not lawyer, but I'm trying to share, with you guys how the philosophy is. Yes, from the business side, from from some other unit who have worked in the AML area, from the operation side, we hire them to be the compliance officer for the a little bit junior, for the AML side, and also for any kind of a vacancy coming up, you should always consider internally first, and that will give your employee some of the assurance that, they are being treated first, because you will have to look into that. And there are many positions that in the past within my team that we have a senior leaving to some competitors or what, then we try to look into whether there is another person down one level can do the job. That is something that I think you should look into too. And as I said, also, you got to have a bigger heart. Somebody left you doesn't mean he or she is bad, right? Doesn't mean they were bad because maybe you were not, they had a better offer at that time. There are some other factors who, attracted that person to go somewhere else and left you guys. A lot of the people will say, wow, the guy left me, 2 years ago, why I should rehire him or her, But have a bigger heart, If he or she is good, why not? He or she might have already gained more knowledge by going to your competitor or going to some other, companies. And when he or she returns, then, it could be a better, asset for the company. So I always say this, have a bigger heart, and then just because as a GC, what you want to do is, there's no hard feeling in my diary. It's always look for someone that if he or she can help you, can help the company, being an asset to the company. I don't care if he left us two years ago, or 6 months ago he decided he want to come back, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. I think your colleagues, your team members, they are very lucky to have you as a boss, having a big heart. And then I think this is very true about consider internally for any promotion or any job progression, because I think in an in-house legal team environment, in many teams, we can see that the structure is quite flat. So having different opportunities will be very desirable for I think, training and also talents development. So thank you. Being mindful about time, I think we still have time for one question, perhaps from the floor here or online. Any questions? And I will check the Q&A session. Thank you. Anyone?
So thank you, Michael. Thank you, Wheeler. Perhaps this is a question that I would like to ask for our members. I always hear from our members saying that it is getting more juniors joining the in-house community. In the old days, they always say that, you should at least obtain perhaps at least 10 years before joining the in-house. But now I'm seeing more and more NQ joining the in-house. Do you see this way? And if so, what is your advice to them, in particular to our young members?
Well, I can confirm I have seen this way. And in fact, I can say that we are the first insurance company who are having trainees and trained at our place, and he became a lawyer. And although I have to tell that he finally left us to the regulators. But I have no doubt and I have no regret to do that. And also, I think sometimes if somebody can really make up his mind to go in-house, why not? I just don't want to see that, some of the lawyers, I don't know, I'm not saying all, young lawyers join in-house because they see the remuneration is better than going out working at the law firm, especially during the first few years. But yes, this is a trend. I can confirm that.
Yeah.
I concur what Michael just said. I have seen this trend too. And even in our Emperor Group, we also do recruit young lawyers, newly qualified lawyers, to support our work. And indeed, junior lawyers, they can do better legal research work, better than the mid-level and senior lawyers. So I really welcome all these newly qualified lawyers to join the in-house profession.
Thank you, Valda. Thank you, Michael. I think this is good news for the different seniority of the legal profession, seeing the increasing population of in-house lawyers. And thank you one more time, Valda and Michael, for your time and for your very interesting sharing with us today. And I'm calling the end of this session. Let's give our speakers a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Valda, Michael, and Joyce. May we have Vice President Rodentong, Mr. Rodentong, to proceed to the stage to present souvenirs to our panelists.